Hello. Welcome to Song of the Week for our last regular show of JayhawkJukebox this semester. It's so sad.
Very sad.
My name is Aiden.
I'm Sydney.
And we're here to present you with some songs.
Yes, definitely. Do you want to talk about yours first?
I would love to talk about mine. Okay. So my song is The Ride by David Allan Coe.
A country song.
A country song.
Which is weird.
I know. I don't usually listen to country, but David Allan Coe is one of my favorite artists. My mom and dad introduced me to him way back in the day. This is like one of my sister's favorite songs. Great song. It's about a guy, which is just sort of a self-told story by Mr. David Allan Coe, about encountering the ghost of Hank Williams in a trip up the road. I don't know if it's supposed to be metaphorical or if he was just really high, but who knows? Yeah, and he gets in this car with Hank Williams and has a little talk about music as he rides up to Nashville. So Sydney, what did you think of it?
You know, okay, so I think we established I wasn't expecting a country song, obviously, from you. But I did like it. I do really like country music. I listen to a lot of country music. And I think it was a really good example of storytelling in a song. Like it was legitimately like storyline. It wasn't, kind of fluffy. I think a lot of the times country music started out as kind of more storytelling. But the newer country music can kind of be like, oh, it's not. I mean, it's just kind of there. But I did like this one because of that element and was like, there's clearly a goal with this song. It kind of reminded me, this is going to be a stretch. Have you ever heard anything from Hadestown?
No, I haven't.
Okay. So Hadestown is a musical. And this song really kind of reminded me of the introduction song to Hadestown. And it like the narrator is kind of like telling everyone about what's happening, and the style of the song just sounded very similar, just the kind of country, but almost like a little bit of, I don't know if steampunk is the right word, but not for this song. But if you've seen Hadestown and then you listen to this song, you will get what I'm saying.
I might have to go listen to the soundtrack.
You should go listen to the soundtrack, yeah, because the character Hermes is like the storyteller, and he's like, there's a road to hell, and there's a train in the background. I don't know. I think just the fact that this storyline is kind of moving and it's in a car, and then Hadestown is like moving and it's in a train. It reminded me of that.
I can sort of envision it because it's like the kind of music that you would put in like an old like Western type of movie, because it's like old like 70s country, which is my personal favorite era of country music. The 70s were amazing.
Yeah, right. What do you think of my song?
I thought it was really, really good. How about you introduce it real quick?
Okay, so my song was People Need a Melody by The Head and the Heart. And I found this song I think Spotify just recommended it to me. I've listened to a couple of their songs, like Rivers and Roads, obviously a super popular one. But Spotify has kind of been pushing more of their songs in my recommended lately. So I found it a few weeks ago. It's from Living Mirage, which is their 4th studio album. And it's kind of like indie folk, positive, maybe a little bit melancholy, you could call it. But yeah, I really like it because I like the message in the song. People need a melody. The chorus is like, people need a melody to open their eyes. And I think it's talking about how music can kind of, help you get through life and like mark where you are in life, stuff like that. So yeah. What'd you think?
I did really like it. This isn't usually the kind of music I listen to. I'm not really like a folk guy.
Yeah.
But I really did like that chorus you were talking about how people need a melody to open their eyes. Like the way I kind of processed the lyrics was very much like how like music is tied to your memories. Like I'm a very big like music is related to memories person. So there'll be like certain songs I hear that'll bring me back to a certain time in my life or a certain place where I was. And I think those like words in the chorus really just kind of like.
It's definitely a very nostalgic song, but not in the way that you've heard it before, but in the way that you listen to what they're saying and you're like, wow, that hits deep.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's honestly kind of a theme with a lot of my songs. I'm like, oh, this could be in a movie. It could. It could be in a movie. So thank you guys so much for watching Song of the Week. And yeah, see you next time, but not for Song of the Week.
I want to talk about the NBA. The NBA in basketball as a sport is really unique. The smaller teams and flashier plays allow for players to market themselves rather than their teams, which kind of allows them to do whatever they want, as really they're their own personality. This gives them a lot of opportunities that a lot of other athletes don't have, but they all kind of use them the same way. If you haven't figured out what I'm talking about yet, a lot of these players find a way to market themselves as a musician along with an athlete, using their newfound fame and money from being an athlete. But not a lot of them are that good. I'm going to be going over a couple and telling you who's good and who you can ignore. Starting off with the hottest one, G3 Jello, aka LiAngelo Ball, was kind of a failed NBA player. He got into the league kind of off of the tailcoat of his two brothers, LaMelo and Lonzo, and he didn't really do a whole lot. He bounced around in Europe leagues and other places, but he didn't really stick anywhere. And so he spent a lot of time out of the camera just kind of doing whatever he wanted until recently when he dropped the song Tweaker that almost everyone's heard. I really wasn't a believer at first, but after hearing it a couple times, it's catchy. I enjoy it. And I think it was good. His more recent stuff hasn't really caught on nearly as much. And in my opinion, unfortunately, I think that he'll probably end up to be like a gimmicky kind of, oh, he was an athlete once kind of artist. But Tweaker was good, I guess. Overall, basketball didn't do so well, but maybe he can redeem himself in the music industry.
What you rockin' ZO2s? I'm blowing past some ZO2. You know I got a ZO2. Pay respect and pay your dues.
Moving on to his brother Lonzo, also known as Zoe on Spotify for those that follow him. He dropped a lot of music around 2016 under the name Zoe. And I mean, it kind of shows. A lot of it's really reminiscent of like 2016 hip hop and rap. And I think his most recent, his biggest song, ZO2, was made to market a shoe, the ZO2. It was a $400 shoe, correct me if I'm wrong, through Big Baller Brand, the brand that his dad was heavily pushing. That later destroyed his ankles and caused for a lot of injuries and other technicalities. But that's besides the point. I don't care for his music. He's an okay NBA player. He's okay. None of it's really standing out to me. Again, I'm just gonna have to hate. There's one more brother, LaMelo, who's the best at basketball out of the three. And can you guess? He doesn't rap because he's actually focused on basketball. Stay focused, I guess.
My jersey, all up in the stands. I learned how to touch it without using my hands. Promise you deep.
I hate Jaylen Brown. We get it. Like, you win. You went to the finals. You won. You got the NBA championship trophy. You got finals MVP. Oh, you're the best player in the world. Blah, 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 blah. If I was the best player in the world, I wouldn't go and drop a song with A$AP Ferg on Spotify. I would be celebrating in so many other ways than trying to be philosophical and dropping a conscious hip-hop song on Spotify that talks about how profound and cool I am. Like, I just don't get it. And I agree with Stephen A. I don't think he's marketable as a personality. I think he's really corny. Like, there's just nothing else to say.
No. Oh my goodness, Valentine! No. Whoa, no!
Don't bother, he sucks at both. The most recent that I've seen is Myers Leonard. He played for a couple teams, and now he thinks he's a country artist. Like country? Guys, we can do better than this. I don't hate all of them, though. There is one player, Miles Bridges, also known as RTBMB, that I really enjoy. While he's not the best, he's a very solid NBA player, averaging 20 points a game. And he has a really good style of music. A lot of what he does is Detroit hip-hop, which is a very relevant genre of music as of recent. He works with a lot of industry and like good producers, and he's a solid rapper. He's a good storyteller. I enjoy his music, and I'll go and listen to it from time to time. Unfortunately, his off-the-court actions are not very great, and so I don't know that I can support him all the way. But overall, solid. I like it. Do more of this. I think I'm gonna end this off by talking about Shaq. You know, like, he does music too. He's a DJ, which I've really resonated with recently. He's just fun. He makes solid music. Like, I more just like look at his sets. He's done sets at like all over the place. EDC mainly being one of them, and yeah, I think he's good. I'm not really trying to be a hater, although I do like it. It's fun. But, you know, like, I get it. A lot of these guys don't have time to pursue a full music career. They're busy doing things that I could never dream of because I'm 5'7". But maybe we could do better. Maybe we couldn't. beats me. Anyways, I think the best way to do things is always just to look to the GOATs, like LeBron. He can barely lip sync.
You hear me? Hit the rollie, start with the rollie on. What was our getaway car, Jag portfolio? You hear me? Hey, I heard I had some sneak dissers. Whoever feeling hot, that AR got a heat sensor.
Everyone, and I said that in the first segment, but welcome back to a different segment that is not welcoming you. This is would you like to explain this segment?
Yes, this segment is called Songs That Shaped You, and it's all about the music that you listened to, whether as a kid or just when you were younger, that sort of formed your music taste or your entire personality, honestly, just songs that you think had a profound effect on you as a person.
Yeah, that's kind of the route I went, at least. I chose some songs that were pretty formative in my early music listening days, songs that were introduced to me mostly by other people. So I think I'll go ahead and start out, if that's okay.
Go for it.
I'm starting out with Norah Jones, Don't Know Why. This was a CD that one of my parents owned that I remember listening to in the car, in the kitchen, you know, when houses had those CD players and radios in the kitchen.
Yeah, I remember that.
Was that
Yeah, I
your
used to have one of those.
experience? Yeah. So Norah Jones just has this like rainy day vibe, and it feels very 2000s, very Bridget Jones. I don't know if it's actually in that movie, but that's kind of what it reminds me of, and it influenced me to appreciate slow ballads and jazzy tones and nice instrumentals. So that was a really formative song for me to listen to in my early kindergarten era days, most likely, if I had to estimate. Yeah. Are you familiar with Norah Jones?
I know Norah Jones. I haven't heard the song before, though.
That's a good one to add to the list.
You know, I will do that.
Okay. What's your...
So, story time. When I was a very young man, about 4 or 5 years old, my dad made me this CD. He like burned a CD of all his favorite songs that he wanted to show me, and there were tons of songs on that CD, but the opening track was Bob Marley's Buffalo Soldier, and I listened to that song so much as a little kid. I feel like it just completely shaped my music taste, but I don't listen to like a ton of Bob Marley or a ton of reggae. I
was gonna say.
Yeah, just something about the vibe of the song, just the way it bounces, the way it goes.
Buffalo Soldier.
Exactly, yeah. I don't know, like that was just kind of like the first song that I was really introduced to as a little kid, and I still love it to this day.
That's beautiful. Bob Marley is a beautiful thing to be introduced to.
We love Bob Marley.
In your early, when your brain is still forming and you remember things so poignantly, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like, wow, that was such a core memory. That's a beautiful one.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Well, my next song, everybody knows this about me, I think. You might not know me well, and especially in this setting when we're talking about music constantly. A known fact about me is that I am a fan of U2. In fact, last week, my song of the week was by U2, but I couldn't have done this segment without mentioning that they just formed my music taste so much. I listen to rock music because of U2. The song that I wanted to talk about specifically was Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For. And side note, I actually watched a YouTube video where these two young people went to the Sphere to watch that concert like last year, 2 years ago, and that was the only song they knew by U2, which was surprising for me. I thought that they are icons, but you know, people of our generation just are not as familiar as they should be. And to me, it's kind of offensive, but I understand the whole Apple Music debacle, because most people, that's what they're familiar with U2 because of. But this song, it has such a almost religious feeling to it. Like, it's really moving, and it feels like this journey, and like you're running, because that's kind of what the song's about, and parts of it, but it's just beautiful. It really influenced my need for deep lyricism in life.
Nice.
On to you again.
Yes, my second song. One of the other songs that came off that CD, Spanish Bombs by The Clash.
I also wasn't expecting that.
The Clash was
Okay.
like my band. Like it probably still is my favorite band of all time. Listened to a ton of them growing up. That was like my dad's favorite band. The entire London Calling album was like super formative in just my music taste. Really just introduced me to so many different like subcultures and things, and just music in general. The Clash, amazing band. If you've never heard Spanish Bombs, as with all the Clash songs, it's very political. It's very like anti-war. it's got a lot of really bad Spanish lyrics in it because they're bad at translation, I guess. But just great song, that entire album, the London Calling album, legendary album cover as well. But I would say that song is definitely the one I listen to the most and the one that like really like introduced me to the band.
Circa when was this kind of your vibe mostly?
From the time I was 5 years old till senior year of high school.
Interesting.
I was all the Clash all the time.
Okay. I'm also going to transition to a more of a high school era song.
Mm-hmm.
Please tell me that you are familiar with No Doubt, the ska punk band.
I've heard of them.
You know Gwen Stefani, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't listen to a lot of them. I do listen to some ska punk, but not specifically No Doubt.
Well, Tragic Kingdom, that album in specific was their big breakout. And it has some hits on there I personally think you would enjoy based off the music that we've discussed so far. But this album instilled in me angry white chick music. And I say that very intentionally because Gwen Stefani, recently I've been kind of thinking back on maybe why she presented herself the way she did in pop music now that she's kind of switched genres a lot. If you don't know about that, you should look up recent Gwen Stefani, but I think that kind of symbolizes how we shift into different music genres as we age, and it changes with time. So, yeah. Thank you guys for listening. Those were our songs that formed us as young people, and we're going to be sending it on to me, actually. Thank you. Hello, all, and welcome back to the last HG's Hot Takes with Hayden. I don't remember what I called it at this point. This is the last segment of this for the semester, so I figured I would end it with a really good one, which is my album review of The Crux by Joe, or if you call him DJO. Totally acceptable. I just found out like late 2024 that it's pronounced Joe, but if you didn't know, now you know. Joe's newest album, The Crux, was released on April 4th, and the thing that I noticed the most about this album, immediately right off the bat, were the references to other musicians and Joe Keery, who, if you don't know him for his music, he does play Steve in Stranger Things. Also informing you on that if you didn't know. I don't know if he did this intentionally or not, but Joe really involved a lot of nuanced references, I feel, to other artists. I heard a lot of The Cars. I heard some Eagles in there. I heard even a little bit of Bruce Springsteen, and I'll get into what I mean by that here in a second. But first of all, I want to talk about the singles. The first single he released for the album, Basic Being Basic, is my personal favorite. This one to me sounded like the Talking Heads in kind of the production and like the layers that he added, but I really like that the song is talking about a girl who's basic, but he likes her because she's basic and trying not to be basic, and he's not necessarily trying to like shame anybody for being this brand of social media clone. I thought that was a really cool statement that is uniquely 2025. My favorite songs from the album consist of Gaptooth Smile, Back on You, and Fly. Gaptooth Smile is my favorite, and I mentioned this in an article I wrote about this very same topic for the Kansan, that Back on You is this like rock, good old-fashioned love song, but it's very different and it is set apart from pretty much any other love song that you're going to hear on the radio, because the lyrics are refreshing and it's not full of empty promises. He said, for a while, not a century, so again, very 2025 with the times, but to me, it kind of sounds like The Cars. That's why I mentioned The Cars earlier. This song really gives me that vibe with the guitar especially, but he also references Freddie Mercury and Killer Queen, which is really fun. Back on You is another favorite of mine. If you really like Bruce Springsteen, maybe even some Hall & Oates, I feel like I heard those references. And whenever I compare Joe's songs to specific artists, I'm not meaning he's a copycat, but I think it's kind of beautiful that this album that is indie pop has so many elements of reference. I think it's almost taking notes from like other artists, and I think that's really cool. and it applies to today's listening ears. Like, I think it's really fun to include those elements. There were only 2 songs that I didn't necessarily like the first time. Charlie's Garden is not my style. I think it's a great song. Sonically and like production-wise, this song is top-notch. It's really awesome. It really reminds me of Electric Light Orchestra, ELO, which you might know from Mr. Blue Sky. That is what this song reminds me of. So hard. It has a lot of personality. It's very optimistic and uplifting, but the production really shines here. It's just not my personal favorite vibe. The other song that didn't really like grow on me as much is called Link. Link kind of feels like newly graduated from high school. I'm pretty sure that's like in the first stanza of the song, but I don't know. I didn't really have a wonderful high school experience that I choose to reminisce on, so that's why that song didn't really hit home for me, but it's still very good. If you like any of the other songs on the album, I think that you would also like Link. Not a single song on this album that is not well done, to be honest, and that's why I think that this album is very timeless. It's a unique quality in music that's released nowadays, I feel. At the same time that it's timeless, it is an evolution for him, and he keeps the same sound, but it's definitely like a mentor is kind of speaking to past albums of Joe Keery, aka Joe. In his past albums 2020 and Decide, I feel like there were different stages of growth, and The Crux is like this future version of himself kind of working through different issues, and I feel like he's like an older brother version to the other Joes on his past albums, if that makes sense, and I thought that that was really cool. All in all, Joe really knows how to reinvent a nacho recipe, if you know what I'm saying. Like, he's taking influences and he's paying homage to artists that inspired his music and doing it in a way that's so tasteful and very subtle, and that's why I chose to focus on the artists that this album reminded me of, is because it was so well done. And this album, in my book, gets a 9.5 out of 10. Maybe even a 10 out of 10, but I think I'm just saying that because it's still new. But again, this album is timeless, it is different, it sticks out, but it's also very catchy and sticks in the ear. And it's an easy listening experience that still makes you want to listen to every song that comes after. So thank you for listening. We're gonna go ahead and send it on to the next segment.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to Jukebox News Flash, where we will be recounting the top news stories from the past week. I'm Hayden Grace, you know that.
And I'm just Hayden.
Only today. Ahead of the American Music Awards return from a 2-year hiatus on Memorial Day, the awards show has shared the list of nominations for its 2025 ceremony. Kendrick Lamar is the most nominated artist of the year with 10 acknowledgements across 7 categories. The rapper is nominated 3 times in the favorite hip-hop song category for Luther with SZA, Like That with Future and Metro Boomin, and Not Like Us as a solo artist. Other nominees include Post Malone, Billie Eilish, and Chappell Roan. The American Music Awards will air live from Las Vegas on Monday, May 26th via CBS and streaming on Paramount+.
Lorde gave fans in New York City a preview of her new single, almost cut short by local law enforcement. On Tuesday, the singer sent a message to fans saying, "Meet me at the park," and as a result, hundreds of eager listeners arrived at Washington Square Park only to be dispersed by the local police. Later in the evening, Lorde showed up and rewarded steadfast fans with a preview played by Dev Hynes, also known as Blood Orange, who is the producer of her upcoming single, What Was That? The song will officially release tomorrow, April 25th.
Earlier this month, the National Recording Registry, located in the Library of Congress, added 25 new additions to its collection. Among them are the Microsoft Reboot Chime from 1995, the 1960 World Series broadcast, the original cast recording of Hamilton, and the score of Minecraft's video game soundtrack. Other artists included were Elton John, Amy Whitehouse, and Miles Davis.
On this day in 1971, the Rolling Stones released their classic album, Sticky Fingers, in the UK. It was the band's first release on their own label via Atlantic Records, and the cover was designed by Andy Warhol, who was paid $15,000 for his artistic efforts. The original LP sleeve featured a close-up of a pair of jeans. Widely assumed to be Mick Jagger on the cover, the crotch photographed by Warhol was actually that of actor Joe D'Alessandro.
The Tennessee Board of Parole voted to recommend a pardon for country star Jelly Roll's crimes, for which he was released from prison nearly 10 years ago. On Tuesday, Tennessee Sheriff Darren Hall of Davidson County made a statement saying that the Board of Parole voted to endorse a full erasure of Jelly Roll, aka Jason B. DeFord's, criminal record. The Associated Press reported that the vote to pardon DeFord was unanimous. The case is now before the Tennessee governor, Bill Lee, who has the final say in the matter.
And finally, here's a rundown of the new music releasing tomorrow, Friday, April 25th. Lord's heavily anticipated single, What Was That?, Pink Elephant by Arcade Fire, 77 by Billy Idol and Avril Lavigne, Down to the Wrong by Haim, Stateside by Pink Panthers, and Whenever by Megan Thee Stallion.
That's all for Jayhawk Jukebox this week. Thank you for tuning in, and we won't see you again next Thursday because this is our last show of the semester for regular scheduled programming. Make sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at JayhawkJukebox and catch these clips on our YouTube channel, also called Jayhawk Jukebox.
Have a great weekend, Jayhawks.